Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal. Yes, I'm in my car, which can mean I'm only at one place, and that is Arsenal's London Colney training ground, having just been at Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of Sunday's game against Wolves. I thought I'd pop on, have a little look at what he had to say. Apologies, you're probably going to see me looking down because I've got my laptop on my lap and I'm trying to read through the quotes, and my hand's probably going to be shaking a little bit. So this isn't going to be the most of professional videos. It's also absolutely baking hot in the car, and I've got my windows closed because Dharmesh from Sky is recording a live feed right next to me in a far more professional manner. You can't really see it there, but a far more professional manner than I am. But anyway, let's talk about what Mikel Arteta had to say. There's a few interesting points from him. I'll start sort of team news, why he hinted at a bit of an issue for Bukayo Saka and Leandro Trossard ahead of Sunday's game. I do think what I heard was Trossard was doing Sky though, as in the pre-match sort of preview stuff for Sky. So it kind of suggests to me that Trossard will probably be okay. We'll wait and see about Saka, whether this is a little, I don't know, sly little way of getting him out of England international duty, giving him the whole summer off. We'll wait and see. If he doesn't play on Saturday, that'll be the first game he hasn't started in more than two. You know, basically, if he does play on Saturday, does start on Saturday, he would have started every single Premier League game, or played in every single Premier League game for the last 2 seasons, which I think equals a record set by David Seaman about 30 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see if he does make it or not. But those are what Mikel said. He said everyone else is fine. So it's just basically Saka and Trossard and the long-term absentees who we know about, obviously Tomiyasu, Saliba, those sort of players. And he spoke a lot about, you know, he was talking about Manchester City winning the title. He was talking a lot about what Arsenal had to do. I thought there was one question, he was asked for one word to sum up how he summed up Arsenal's season. Or let me try and find this for you, because I think it says, I'm describing the season in one word. He said he thought about it for a long time. He sat there silent for probably a good 20 seconds. And he said connection. I think the team has connected. I think the club has connected. The departments at the clubs have connected with each other in a really powerful way. The crowd has connected with the team, the club, the ownership, and the rest of the world. I think we have connected again with our DNA, who we are, our way of doing things, and we have to move forward. I thought it was a really good answer. And I think if I have to now if I was asked to sort of sum up the season in a word, I think that's the kind of way I'll go, or hope, or something like that, because I certainly think it's brought a lot of hope to Arsenal fans, hope that they haven't felt for a long time. So I thought it was a pretty smart answer, a good answer from Mikel there about that. I like that. He was asked about the transfer window quite a bit and what Arsenal have to do. How do you sort of close the gap on Manchester City? In his interview he gave with Dharmesh, actually, from Sky earlier in the week, from here, he talked about having to nail the transfer window, and he was sort of pressed on that. He was like, how do you nail it? So it was quite interesting. He said, we have to nail everything that we do, and we have to seek excellence in everything that we touch and participate in. I think the competition is going to be harder than this season. In my opinion, this has been the hardest of the 22 years that I've been in this league. In order to do that, we have a really promising plan. We may have to reflect a little bit, take a step back, make sure it is the right one, and then go again with more determination and hunger in our tummies to do it even better. So he says that Arsenal have got a really promising plan. I asked him, you know, because look, Arsenal, we know who Arsenal like. They like Gundogan. And I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I've already been called up on it in the comments, so apologies. I always get my pronunciations wrong. I just know him as Ilkay Gundogan or Gundogan or something. But I'm sure you'll all correct me again. But they want him. They want Mason Mount. They want Declan Rice, Moises Caicedo. All these players that every other club wants. So there's going to be really strong, fierce competition for these players. So, you know, as promising a plan as they have in place, how do you go about actually winning the battle to sign these players? How do you see off the competition from Manchester City, potentially for a Declan Rice, or from a Manchester United for a Mason Mount, from a Barcelona for Gundogan? How do you see off that competition? I asked him that, and he said, by explaining who we are, how we do things, what we want from them, how we think they're going to fit into our culture and our club, and then trying to do the right thing. Buying the right profile for the right amount of money, that is going to fit what we are going to do. And in the end, players and staff are going to make our car faster and more reliable to have a great season. And I think when you sort of break down those comments, that is a big selling point for Arsenal. When he says, well, by explaining what we want to do and who we are, you could laugh at that a little bit, but I do think it's a big selling point, because I think Arsenal are really, really attractive to players right now, because they can see what's happening. They see the young squad, they see the way they play for the manager, they see the fact, and I know a lot of you are disappointed, and there's, understandable criticism of Arteta for the way Arsenal have ended the season, but he is a very hugely respected coach. Players want to play for him. Players who, from afar, are looking at what's happening at Arsenal and think, yeah, that's where I want to go and kick on. And I saw John Cross from the Mirror wrote a story that just went live just before I left the press room up there to come down here, saying that Declan Rice is going to make it very clear to West Ham that Arsenal are the club he wants to join. And I think that says an awful lot when you've got a player like Declan Rice who could have his pick of all the top clubs. If he is really sort of pressing and going to demand almost to West Ham that Arsenal is the club that they need to do business with this summer, I think that says a lot. And I thought that answer there from Arteta was, again, it was quite an interesting one. I think on paper you can sort of glance over it and think, oh, it's just generic manager speak, but I think there's a lot of truth to it by simply now Arsenal sitting down and explaining to players the project and how they fit into the project. I think a lot of them are going to be really, really excited by that. And he also spoke about the importance of getting deals done early. Last season Arsenal did that very well. They signed Jesus early before they went on the pre-season tour. They got Zinchenko in during the pre-season tour and flew him out there so that it was a part of it. They acted swiftly and they got players in, and that was really, really important, and that helped in terms of how they started the season, because players were bedded in. They weren't sort of rushed in right at the end, which is never an easy thing to, and I think that'll be really important for Arsenal. I think they will try and get that done early today. It's easier said than done, especially with really difficult big money transfers at times, because selling clubs such as West Ham will look to drive up the best possible bargain. They'll try and play clubs off each other to drive the price up, so it's not always easy. In an ideal world, obviously you get it done within a few weeks of the transfer window opening, but it doesn't always play like that. But I think Arsenal will do their very best to try and get that done. Injuries wise, he talked a little bit about Saliba and Tomiyasu and when they could be ready. I'll just get the quotes up for that, because there's been a lot of talk, especially with Tomiyasu, that this injury could be a lot worse than it's actually feared. And originally Arsenal said, they're going to get him back so that he'd be ready for pre-season, but there's been a lot of talk, a lot of whispers that we've been hearing sort of behind the scenes that it could be a lot worse than that, and it might sort of go into next season. So he was asked about that, and I'm just trying to get the right quotes up on it. And he said, on Tomiyasu, he said, I think he's really close to being ready for pre-season. He will be around for pre-season, like Willie Saliba, to be in a good place. They have been working so hard, and it's been a really difficult year for him with some of the issues he's had. He's a tremendous person, a top professional. We just want him to be available, because when he's available, he's really helpful to the team. And having those two fit, getting those two ready, and Martinelli as well, is going to be so key for Arsenal. As important as bringing in players quick in the transfer market quickly, getting those players back to make sure they're ready for pre-season is going to be just as important, because it's just going to help with the team, and you need those players fit, and I think it'll be really important. So fingers crossed that can happen. Elsewhere, he talked about he was asked about Granit Xhaka. Of course, Granit, after the game at Forest last weekend, said that he wanted his future sorted out and made known before Sunday's game. That hasn't happened. We're on Friday now. Time recording this video, it's mid-afternoon. It hasn't happened. Mikel was asked about that and whether there was any sort of update, and he just said, I cannot talk, and I won't talk about the future of any player. We have to wrap up the season, and then we will plan for the following season. And just quickly, actually, here's a quick one on Saliba, a little bit more on Saliba. When he was asked if he'll be back for pre-season, he said, it's probably too early to say. I think he's evolving in the right way. In the last few weeks, they've been much more positive than in the previous 2 months. We wanted to protect him. It's an injury that needs some care and attention. We've been pretty conservative to give him the best possible chance to have a good pre-season and go again in the season. Another interesting comment when he was talking about Bukayo Saka's contract, he ended by saying, hopefully there will be a few more to come, and fingers crossed Saliba will be one of them. It appears that Reiss Nelson is going to be one of those as well. From what I understand, there is now a genuine belief and hope that he will sign a new contract. Obviously, he's out of contract at the moment, and he's rejected some previous offers, but it seems his latest offer, a 4-year deal that's on the table from Arsenal, could well be accepted. All the signs are beginning to point towards that happening. So maybe Mikel was talking about that as well. So Reiss Nelson close, not done, but close to signing a new Arsenal contract. And that's about it from here at London Colney for the final press conference of the season. Obviously, the one game to go at Wolves on Sunday. I will be there to keep your eyes peeled from that. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies again for the pretty rubbish quality of this in my car with my hands shaking all over the place, looking down at the laptop, but not much more I could do. The press room was so busy and loud, you wouldn't have been able to hear me if I did it out there, so I had to come down for the car park. Have a great day, everyone. Have a good start to your weekend. I'll speak to you soon.